Hello, I am here. We are here. I need to tweet the fact that I am streaming. I am just a skosh late. I got caught up in a couple of other things. I tweeted this like 15 tweet long thing. Oh hey, River City Girl Zero is out. That looks amazing. Man, this is terrible. I have this terrible thing where I open my phone and there's notifications and I have to answer those notifications. And it's just pathological, but I need to tweet that I am doing this. I'm doing game planning for my 8-weekly TTRPG games! Exclamation mark. Come watch. And then the Twitch TV / Alden Wizard King. Boop. Hey, I'm early today, but still massively gay, and that even rhymes. All right, Looney, welcome. We have very carefully put all of the notes relative to you under these fancy censorship bars, so you don't need to worry about being here early. All right, what are we doing? Monday game. Not a lot of planning going on, so let's just I'm gonna go ahead and close this up. New Monday game at work because of new student joining. We are doing the Tenants of Bane. The Tenants of Bane are a 4-part series about retrieving discs of evil. My session is basically an SCP document now. I mean, yes, it certainly is. Only it's like 90%, no, 99% less pretentious than an SCP. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I think I remember a time when SCPs were clever and not just like people grinning at themselves in the mirror. And I'm not even talking about like in a creepy SCP way. It's like they're a little too precious. And Looney, maybe you understand this better than most, but like it's kind of the way the Cape books have become, where it's like it's a little too precious, it's a little too self-referential. It's like it's not about the love of the craft. It's more about like, did you see what I did there? Did you notice that little trick that I did and how clever I am? And I just can't stand it anymore. I'm not for the SCPs, not because of what they were, but because of what they are. But that's an aside. So we finished part 1 of TOB. Part 2, kobolds. What are those guys called? Darrow and elementals. So this is knocking it out of the park. This should be easily done. We're just gonna do a quick sound off on characters. 2 blood hunters, Sif and question mark. I can't remember what one of them named themselves. Blood Hunters, I think I've talked about this before, are basically like The Witcher from the series The Witcher. And I don't know a lot about either the series The Witcher in its various media forms, nor do I know a lot about Blood Hunters, but I should play a Blood Hunter one of these days so that I can figure this shit out. I'm tired about not knowing how to help players run their characters because it's the one class that I'm not familiar with. Jedi. Let's see. Spider. So I'm letting one of the players be a Jedi and letting them have Jedi powers, but it's basically like one of the fighter variants for D&D. It works really well, but we'll kind of keep going with that. And then question mark, new player is very free form. So we have a brand new player who's someone who's never played D&D before and is just very much into the story aspect of it. So I'm just letting it be extremely freeform. But like an alien can teleport, forgetful, and sleepy. So that's what this character is. Is just someone who's just very unusual, and it's got OC written all over it, but that's okay. That's, you know, some people, that's how they start. And I want that to be, if this person who plays this character wants to continue playing D&D, eventually it'll take some form and it'll go all well. Let's see, from the chat. Well, we all knew SCP stuff was going to the dogs way back when Abel first showed up. It's been downhill since. It was evidently dead and done after the Stalker satellite with preferred pronouns became a thing. Oh. That's... Okay. Let's see. Plans for the future. See what people want after part 4, and if they want to integrate into Out of the Abyss. So I think we've got a pretty clear roadmap. There's nothing surprising here. It's a brand new game. We're doing Tenants of Bane. Tenants of Bane is this like really cool 4-part adventure where you got 3 discs. You take them to a priestess, and shenanigans happen. That the shenanigans are on part 4, but it's all really cool. I've run it a handful of times, and it's one of my favorite little 4-part adventures. It'll get everybody to level 4, and we'll be good from there. Oh, and quick homework. Homework. Make Jedi character. So the Jedi guy has not had a character. He's just been going by everything that's in my brain. So one of the things I love about 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is that I can run a character out of my head without anything written down, because I know the rules well enough to do that, and because the rules are very easy to kind of internalize, as opposed to older versions of the game where you were doing all kinds of math. Really, some of the older versions, if you're not using a calculator or an abacus, you might get lost. But we move on, because I think that's really all I need to do. Just make a character for one of the players, and we'll be all set. We're hopefully continuing on tomorrow, and we'll have to figure out. I'll probably bring yeah. Well, there's going to be a new, not a new player, but a new old player who's coming back, and he's got a level 3 character, and we'll let him use that level 3 because everyone else is level 2. It's going to be all fine. All right, Tuesday, big one. I'm actually not going to run the Tuesday game tomorrow for Warhammer because my nephew is in town. We're going to a hockey game, him, me, and my brother. So that's going to be great. It's just unfortunately going to delay the start of this game, but I have some ideas. I mean, the satellite's entry was 90% about its AI's gender identity, and I'm like, sweetie, I'm all for transpositivity. This is from the chat, by the way. I love being trans myself, but girl, this ain't it, and you're screwing us all with that attitude. I mean, I mean, this is not maybe the avenue for me myself to kind of get on a soapbox about this, but I mean, I've so let me. This is something I heard this morning, and it's gonna seem maybe weird to bring up at first, but I'm gonna bring it up. I heard that someone's doing a Kickstarter to do a tabletop role playing game all about Stonewall, which you likely know. Stonewall is the event. I want to say it was like 1964 or 69, where a gay bar was raided by police and bricks were thrown and all kinds of crazy stuff was happening. Um, and it's being made by an Italian, as I understand, and I there's all kinds of swirling feelings about that. But I think at the heart of what I'm trying to get across is that it's really really difficult to bring your emotions and thoughts and feelings about identity, about oppression into a game. And I'm not saying don't do it, but it's hard. It's very difficult. And like so many things, it's going to be a lot of falling down on your face. It's going to be a lot of trial and error, but sometimes it's going to be about um, getting it wrong. And it's going to be about some missteps, and it's like I think the satellite with gender identity kind of issues is like that would have been a fantastic short story. And what I see a lot with projects like the SCP organism, I guess you would call it, is that some people want to treat it like a short story avenue, and once you start doing that, um, no matter what your subject or topic is, you start losing what it was originally about, and start making it about your creative endeavor. And that's what I was getting at earlier, is that it starts becoming about like your cheekiness and your creativity, and it's sometimes sometimes if somebody has a creative art project that allows people to like add their bit onto it, you have to understand the heart of the original work. You have to understand like what you're adding to it and what you're taking away from it. And sometimes what you do, even in adding your art, takes away more than you contribute. I think that's as politic. I think that's as generous as I can be with my assessment of it. Sometimes a shared art project is about how much you give and how much you take, and some people take more than they give. That's fair to say. I think that's fair. Um, okay, 40k. I have been drowning myself in Warhammer 40k lore. I have just been absolutely soaking myself in it. So there's a lot that I want to try and write down before I forget. So we've got our premise. We've got a lot of different characters that have been kind of put forth. We had I actually recorded our session last week, which was just kind of trying to build characters, and I think people maybe still a little bit lost. So I'm gonna hopefully work with people to make sure that we're ready for the first session. Now, call me a prude, but gamifying a very sensitive thing like Stonewall is like running around naked, waving around a big metal rod during a thunderstorm. Yeah, and so going to that point, like I'm not gonna say that Americans haven't taken foreign culture and just run it through the media ringer. It's happened a lot. Like our Hollywood and American novelists and everything have like dipped their toes into foreign events in ways that like I don't think anyone else has. And so when someone does it to us, there's a bit of fair game there. There's a little bit of like, okay, I get it, but like this kind of doesn't feel right, even as a oh, so we can't do it either kind of situation. But maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to know. Like what are the limits on art? And I mean, this feels like a limit. This feels like maybe, but I don't know. There are so many things that I can't judge because I'm, there are many parts of a culture that I can't speak to, and maybe that's it. Maybe I don't know how culturally. I don't know how this Italian person who is making this game um, has intersects into that culture, but it's just very difficult to know if this isn't just going to be sensationalism. And my guess and my read on historically what things like this have been is that it is just going to be sensationalism. I don't know. For all we know, this person is going to take the Kickstarter money and run. And I don't know. I only say that because that's a possibility. Or maybe it's going to be a runaway hit, to use a turn of phrase. But each event is likely, and then there's like a lot of middle ground where it's probably just not going to be great. I don't know. It's really difficult. But to my point, I think it takes a certain kind of sensitivity, and not a lot of people possess that, and it's not fair that stories can't be told by everyone. But it's also not fair when everybody tells a story about something that maybe isn't inherently theirs. Let me think. I'm kind of perseverating on this. Let me try and focus my thoughts on Warhammer as I think about this, so that I don't lose the brainstorming that I've been doing. I should have written this down before. So the group is going to start on a rogue trader ship. We've established that the ship is evacuating from Dark Eldar. The Imperial fleet. You know what? I'm going to kind of fix this a little bit now that I know a little bit more of the setting. So there's not a lot of the Imperium available in the Gilead system. Small Imperial escort with rogue trader. So the Necron Dreadnought is going to be really important. Reboot. I don't know if I want to include him. I don't know. I'll have to figure this out. But Necron ship has FTL engine that avoids the warp. That's going to be super important because the Gilead system. Let's write this down. Gilead system separated from Terra, Holy Terra, by massive warp. Cicatrix maledictum. Necron ship may be a way to either evacuate or establish trade with Imperium. So those are all very important things. Like this is a goal worth having. Let's see. Rogue trader ships are independent of Imperium. Provide so this is just explaining things like if you don't know. Reboot Gilliman, which is a ridiculous name, but I love it, is a Primarch, and a Primarch is like, okay, so you've got your Emperor of Man, and he's like a giant psychic powerhouse that can lead everybody, every human into like an age of prosperity. So they say. I was going to say more on the topic, but I wanted to derail the stream further. Suffice to say, I agree with you as usual, reading from the chat. No, Looney, please say more. Like, I feel awkward because I feel like I have maybe some opinions, but I speak from a place of ignorance. And so you certainly know and are more involved in that whole thing. So I don't want to keep you from saying anything. So please. But while you do, if you have more to say, please do. I'm gonna flesh out these ideas on the Warhammer 40k thing. Super. So reboot Gilliman. I don't know if I want to include him. He's probably not there. So I'm learning more and more and more about the 40k as it stands right now. Um, shoot, I gotta. Heck, come on. Sorry, I gotta respond to a message. Hmm. Pardonnez-moi, s'il vous plaît. Um, oh my god, I forgot about that. Someone just sent me the one of the best Valentine's cards, and this was from Cecil Looney. Before you start wondering, but Cecil sent me the roses are red, violets are blue. Omae wa mo shinderu. That's my favorite. That and roses are red, violets are blue. But enough talk, have at you. Those are my two favorite Valentine's cards. Let's see. Okay. Reboot Gilliman. Side note: do I want a Primarch in the Gilead system? I don't know if I want a Primarch in there. Like, maybe we wait. Maybe we wait to include a Primarch. Okay, so I was starting to say, you've got the Emperor. He's this massive psychic superhero who saved Earthlings from the ravages of space. He created an unquantifiable number of children through genetic stuff. Literally just grew children, and they are like, he is unto himself very godlike, and his children are unto themselves very demigod-like. Um, and the demigods just tend to have a very big effect on wherever they go. Maybe I don't want them to. Maybe I want this to be a smaller story. Maybe I want this to be something just a little bit more private. And yeah, maybe we'll wait to include any talk of Primarchs. Rogue trader ships, we know, are basically mercantile ships that are allowed to work independently. See, on the ship, people who claim they are Imperial researchers attached to the Adeptus Mechanicus have damaged Necron with them. Necron in stasis in a map that can open a tomb world. See, Orc was told by Orc god Mork in a vision to find big flashy space choppa. Orc apparently only one who can access the tomb, thanks to inheriting a sliver of Catan energy. Yeah, I love it. Actually, no, well, let's change that. Old one, because the old ones created orcs. It wouldn't make sense for an orc to have a sliver of Catan energy. Or would it? I don't know. Let's keep it like this right now anyways. No one in the game is going to know what any of this is, except for like little fragments. Okay, from the chat. I mean, I was just going to complain about how progressive inclusivity is shallow and self-serving, and it isn't really geared towards aiding marginalized people and more towards Titillating allies. Sorry, that's just me stumbling on my words. But you already know my whole spiel. Just apply it to SCP and how progressives run it into the ground. Well, and I have really strong feelings about, I guess what some people call third wave feminism, but like a lot of modern Western feminism. Roses are red, violets are blue. My name is Avdol. Hello to you. Hell to you. um, but anyhow, as I was mentioning, shoot, I'm trying to remember what the heck I was trying to say, and that's just me. Okay. So most of what I'm having happen here is not gonna, actually. Oh no, I was talking about feminism. Like feminism in the modern Western world is a lot of women with privilege and doing a lot of good for other women with privilege, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with privileged women being treated better than they have been, because even with the privilege they had, not great. The treatment has not been great. Where it fails is in its blindness, intentional or otherwise, towards marginalized women, whomsoever those marginalized women are, whether they are women of color, whether they are um, queer women of all creeds, and we're seeing it with people who should be champions for all women who aren't, and who are very decidedly um, making it their business who they consider to be women and who they don't, among other issues. But again, that's just another story. But the reason I bring that up, the reason that it's all a thing that is on my mind, is we're talking about the SCP, and how maybe a leftist lens on that has kind of made things a little difficult. Is that sometimes progressives don't know how to check their privilege. I think that's at the heart of the issue. I've run into too many teachers who are white knight saviors. I've run into too many protesters who are very ignorant of some of the greater inequities that they should be protesting over, whether or not they have to wear a mask when they go into a store and so on. But it's this whole thing. It's all really difficult to kind of parse, and I don't know that we're gonna find a solution. God damn it! No, would you please stop? Anyways, damn it, YouTube. Anyhow, okay. So I think we're onto something here. We're talking about the Gilead system as it exists in Warhammer 40k. We're applying this to my game because that's the primary setting. And I think I want. Let's see, is it done? Oh, it's because the video ended. Okay. All right, this works. There were a lot of ideas that I was kind of turning around in my head for how I really want to approach this game. And I really want to dig into the lore. I really want to make it very interesting. So why don't we start with this? Prominent figures. Sister Rose Claren of the Sororitas. An actual level-headed inquisitor, beloved by the system, wants to find a way to save as many people as possible. A martyr, a saint, and a hard worker. not recognized by superiors because she is too kind to be an inquisitor, so she is sent with shoot. I say shoot because I forgot a thing that I need to figure out. So there's all these. So the Warhammer 40k universe is just full to the brim. Like if you spent your life figuring out the ins and outs of this lore, like you might spend your life piecing everything together, understanding all of the ins and outs of this like very prominently figured out world. Sister Repentias. There we go. Sister. Why don't we just say Repentia sisters? So, battle sisters. What are they? In the world of Warhammer 40k, 40k stands for 40,000, as in 40,000 AD. At some point in the last few thousand years of what is the space empire of man, of humanity, religion took a stranglehold, and the stranglehold is still there, but there was a very terrible Pope-like figure named Goj Vandire, and he took all of the power that was afforded to him, took control of everything he could take control of, basically was like the king of mankind throughout space, with only the authority that had been vested with him through the church, which, you know, obviously a story as old as time. He, in the empire of mankind, as they were rediscovering worlds lost in previous ages, that's another story, he found a convent full of nuns and had convinced them to follow him, and basically convinced them of his divinity, and forged the Battle Sisters. And we've seen this in history where godlike leaders, or leaders who believe themselves to be gods, will forge a sisterhood of bodyguards. And so that happened. He took the convent of nuns, turned them into the sororitas, or the Battle Sisters, and it was eventually discovered that he was just corrupt as hell, which, surprise, surprise, but they figured it out, and I think it was even one of the sororitas who killed him. Great, that's awesome. They removed a great, just human mortal evil from the system, and made things somewhat better, I guess. But anyways, the sisters were from that point kind of a staple of the humanity empire, and just kind of grew into their own thing and became folded into what is called the Inquisition, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just Torquemada's space armada. Oh my god, why didn't anyone ever call it that? But anyhow, so the Battle Sisters are everything you might imagine. They're just the space nuns with guns. And so I want to use them. And the reason I explain to you all of this is that Sister Repentia is a kind of battle nun who, because they believe that they're not holy enough, or that they have fallen in some way, will take a chain sword, which is like a chainsaw in the shape of a sword, and no armor, and go out and fight until they die, because they know they will die, and they know that if they die in such a way, they might find redemption. The reason I explain all of this to you is because the Sister Repentias, in this specific instance, they are sent with Sister Rose because they don't like Rose, and they think her missions are suicide missions. They think her assignments are suicide. So basically, Sister Rose wouldn't think of it this way, but her superiors are trying to get her killed. And they're sending these Repentia sisters because the Repentia sisters know this, but they're okay with that because they see it as their duty. They know that if they die, then it's their whole thing. But I just love the interplay of like, here's this person who's so nice that she doesn't see that her superiors are trying to kill her. And the people around her, though reliable and steadfast, understand the betrayal that is happening here, but they also know that in feeding into this betrayal, they are getting what they want, even if what they want is absolution. And I think that's fascinating. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. If I had a penny for every progressive who started hurling every racist and transphobic slur at me, oh my god. Once they found out I'm not fawning breathlessly over the allyship, you and I would be traveling the world via private jet. We live in the largest McMansion in America. That sounds nice. Torquemada's Space Armada? Oh my god. Like, I am so happy that I came up with the phrase Torquemada's Space Armada. Like, you don't even know. Inquisition. Torquemada's Space. I'm just gonna have to. Battle nuns brought into service by Antipope. Okay, I think that explains it. So what I'm really trying to do here is like populate this game with people who matter, people who have built up backstories, people who should, whether they live or die, have a stamp on this game. And so I need to populate the game with people like that, or else it's not going to feel lived in. That's something that I think I need to do a better job of in general, and we'll kind of work that in as we go. But okay, so there's Sister Rose Claren. There is Commissar Luke Velden, a stern man on a mission to hunt down traitor. He may run across the group and ask their help. The Commissar is seeking to find a guardsman who betrayed his platoon to Nurgle? No. Slanesh. I can't remember if Slanesh is like 2 A's. It's, well, we get the idea. Commissar has gotten special dispensation and has chased the traitor into an asteroid field. May hire the group and promise war gear in return. But the problem, big problem, the Commissar cannot know about Eldar, Eldari, orcs, or orcs. That would be a non-starter for him. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to work that in. But this would be someone else that they could run into. Actually, I have a really good idea. Velden family. A family of prominence that made a virtual fortune. Why do I say virtual? No, they made a fortune trading with trading minerals from an asteroid that they own. They received as a gift from the ecclesiarchy. Once a poor family that rose to prominence after devoting ties to the Imperium and contributing people of lordly caliber, let's say, to quote a Queen song. So, caliber. The Imperium recognized their greatness, wanted more tithes, gave them the rights to an asteroid, and they got rich. Family also has many ties to the Astartes through not Astartes. What am I thinking? Adeptus. Their familial ties. Family has at least 2 Space Marines, 4 Sororitas, 2 Inquisitors. Let's just say 6 Inquisitors. And 1 Mechanicus in their family tree. Actually, 2 Mechanicus and Commissar Luke. So I want this to be the kind of thing where I can introduce a Veldin into the game, and like the characters eventually are like, wait a second, are you from the Veldins of such and such planet? And they'll be like, yes, that's my family, and that'll be like a cool little recurring theme. So Commissar Luke Veldin is going to be one of those people. I have a whole other week to work on this, and I feel like I've done quite a bit on just Warhammer 40k, but we'll return to this. I may even write more in the in between as I keep brainstorming. But okay, so here we go. First session, Dark Eldar. Okay, we've got this all sewn up. The Dark Eldar, I want to, let's see, I'm just going to give myself some homework. Learn more about Dark Drukhari, Dark Eldar, and so on. Want to know how they figure into the bigger picture. So I want the Eldari to maybe be like a big evil bad guy in the system. They're just big enough that like a flagship full of Eldari are like a big dangerous enemy, but they're not the Tyranids. They're not Chaos. They're not an Orc Wog. It's not something where like the only thing you can do is run away. There is a feasible idea in which you go and you fight the Dark Eldar and you maybe win. Because it's just a tiny cluster of them as opposed to like a whole empire worth of them, which does exist. But like as opposed to like if you were trying to fight Chaos, the Chaos is a magnitude. Like Chaos is like a huge force of dare I say it, nature. An Orc Wog, not much you can do about that. Tyranids, same thing. You see them, run. Yes, Slanesh, patron saint of Futanari degenerates like myself. Listen, don't tempt me to heresy, because this conversation is getting extra heretical. That's right, but I'm gonna Slanesh. Slanesh. Where is Commissar Luke Veldin? Slanesh. Hey, look at that! Like the dictionary recognizes Slanesh. That's something. All right, Tuesday game. Klaus the Gnome. We're not talking about that today. I do still need to do my homework for Demon the Fallen. I do really want to, Looney, talk more about Demon the Fallen with you, and maybe even run a game because I think it would be amazing. I started to start reading up on it and doing my homework for Demon the Fallen, and then this whole Warhammer thing kind of derailed me towards that, but that's okay. I have lots of time to eventually go through that. But we'll skip all of that for now. I'm going to step away for just a minute to get myself a soda, and I will be right back. I won't be more than a minute. Sorry, I am back. Okay. All right, Dawn of Thay. Group investigated Temple Moor, decided to finally deal with Frozen Wizard, all of that business. Let me go. Let me delete all of this, and let's see. We'll go ahead. No, let me see. Okay. Group just left small town that acts as customs for Gauntlgrim. We'll have a few Thieves Guild adventures. Okay, so the group stole a medal from the town guard captain. Um, they still have the other jobs to do if they ever want to come back to them. I'm so heretical. I actually owned a custom-made hat in the style of Terry Bogart's Fatal Fury hat, and it read "Fatal Futa," and I once had a top with a sign that read "Fut." Oh my god, I can't even repeat that. How is that for impure heretical thought? When you say once owned, does that mean you no longer do? Um, my roommate Robert bought or made, I can't remember, but like there was the shoot, there was some game that came out recently where if you bought the special edition, it had the Terry Bogart hat, but it said Fatal Cuties. Anyways, either he got his hands on one or he made one. I think both, honestly. And he was really proud of those. But if he knew you had a Fatal Puta hat, then I think he would be over the moon for that. Oh my god. Okay. So, the group is in Gauntlgrim. Let's see. Group in Gauntlgrim and spoke with Brunor Battlehammer. They gave the wizard to him, and he is going to send the group on an adventure. It's hard for me to complain that it's too warm in my room when the temperatures have been dipping like crazy lately, but come on now. Get in here. But anyhow, still I gotta open my window. It is too muggy. Alright. The hat and top are lost somewhere in the storage room of my apartment. I'm reading this from the chat. In theory, they should still be there. However, I have not been to that apartment in quite a few months. No worries, I can always have more custom made. All I wanted was for you to take a picture of it so that I could show my roommate, because he would die. He would love that. But let's see. All right. Brunner Battlehammer. Okay, so what's the adventure he's going to send them on? I think I kind of stalled on that point because I wasn't sure what I was going to have him do. And I'm brainstorming right now, but I really want to have this kind of be a fun adventure for everyone to go through. But I don't want it to be like too cliche or too difficult. Like my brain immediately goes to have them go into a dragon's lair and kill the dragon, because that's what a dwarf would want someone to do. Very, very The Hobbit, but no, that's a little too on the nose. And they've already killed the dragon. I think I don't want to diminish the kind of achievement of that. They're also not quite that strong. Underdark Adventure. How about tomb raiding? What's in the Underdark? So, you've got all kinds of aberrations. You've got a lot of undead. Got a lot of monstrosities. There should be something fun. And you know, it's at a time like this, and yeah, I remember the Fatal Cutie hats I'm reading from the chat. Because I remember getting all excited at Gal Fighters and getting a sequel, and potentially Trans Terry sadly I could not get my hands on one of the hats. Would have been cool to have that hat. Yeah. I mean, let me see if I can convince my roommate to make another Fatal Cuties hat. The one he made was really good. Anyhow, I need to inspire myself. I'm going to open up the monster manual to a random page. Deep gnomes? No, thank you. Modrons? Maybe. Cloud giant? No. Marilith? No. There's those dragons again. They do take up a lot of real estate in this, though. Okay, now I'm just flipping through. If anyone in the chat wants to challenge me, and when I say challenge, I mean like, you know, in a Great British Bake Off sense, tell you what, I'll try and get another Fatal Fuda hat once my life gets a little less chaotic, and I'll take pickies of it and send them to you. And no rush. I mean, I just thought it would be cool because, yeah, I mean, I think we have very similar sensibilities, both you and I, and myself and my roommate. So it's a sense of humor that you really don't find, and like just anywhere. Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. It just came to me. Tomb raiding. Okay. Small community of Sorry, I think I have just the idea. And I need to look up to see if this is a thing in the monster manual. Do they have Morlocks? Magman. Mummies. Modrons. No, no Morlocks, but that's okay. No. Troglodytes. Caught in the grips of a needful spider. What is a needful spider? Question mark. A creature I created. And I'm going to include a picture of it because I think it's really cool. I'd take one of my gloves off to challenge you like in old times, but I'm wearing a really long gloves right now, and it'd take too long. Let's see. I just want people to look at this, but this is actually a creature that I didn't create the art for this, but I took the art as a prompt. And let's see, we're going to go ahead and throw this on the screen. See, I'm probably gonna... No, don't do that. Yeah, there we go. So this is a Needful Spider. When I saw the art for this, basically the prompt was like, hey, take this art and turn it into a monster that's interesting. And it looks scary, but it also looks desperate. Like, whatever this creature is, it looks like there's something like... It's not operating from a place of power. It's operating from a place of fear. Like, it is paranoid. It is kind of a weenie. Like, it's ultimately a coward, but it projects confidence. And I created basically this creature that like will dominate and mind control a whole society and have it work for him, and stay behind the scenes. He doesn't fight things. He doesn't kill things. He lets other people do it for him. And when backed into a corner, will fight. But this is not like a dragon like controlling a community of orcs or something. This is like a giant spider. This thing is like, you know, it maybe has a leg span of like 12 to 15 feet. It's not small, but it still is afraid of physical confrontation. It has mental abilities. It just tries to make itself comfortable while being a tyrant. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, second Wednesday game. Wow. Oops. Sorry, I'm responding to someone. All right. Second Wednesday game. We didn't play last week. No, I take that back. We did play last week. It was the week before we didn't. Okay, big castle, lots of danger. Using Amber Temple. Okay, and they're just careening quickly towards the end point of that. So they're in a big castle. They're looking for the wizard. They're gonna fight the wizard. It's gonna happen very quickly. Probably next game. The big question is what comes next, and that's a question that I'm gonna have to have a conversation with them, but just to see what's what. But we'll kind of that's going to be like an internal conversation. So this is kind of just it's very simple. We're almost done with this campaign, which is going to be really cool. And it's going to have I don't know. We're done with this arc, maybe campaign. We'll see. That's part of the conversation. Do we want to continue this specific storyline, and so on? But we'll figure it out very quickly. Okay. Thursday. Oh man, speaking of ending storylines, we're very close. So last week, finally arrived at Balgor's wasteland, or Balgor wasteland. Big demon fight near teleport pad. Group had to split up to avoid fight. Internecine fight. Group then got attacked by giant hyenas. Were able to communicate via druid and ranger, and were tasked with finding food for a hyena clan. Group found a sauropod that was old, killed it mercifully, and had the hyenas eat some of it. Let's see, and that was pretty much what happened last session. Group traveling through desert. What comes next? Maybe 2 more sessions of travel. Group will come across a coil woman who is in need. Secretly a cultist for Shantico will try to infiltrate group. Decent chance the group will see right through her. I mean, if you want some inspiration in order to make spider monsters terrifying, just look up Joro Gumo, scariest goddamn yokai I have ever seen, particularly the ones from Okami. Brr. Maybe I will. Joro Gumo. Oh my, yes. That's terrifying. That is, yeah, several different kinds of horrifying. Alright. Buh. Not a big fan of spiders myself. Did the music end? Oh no, it's just a lull. Alright. Yeah. But there's a really good chance that the group is going to run into this coil woman. And by the way, a coil, so there's in the Palladium fantasy world, which is what this is, there are wolfen, which are like 12-foot tall wolf people. They're just people who are wolves. They're not werewolves. They just are wolf people. There are Kankaran, which are more like fox people. They're a little shorter. They're like maybe 7 to 8 feet tall. And then you have the closer to human size, like 6 foot tall coils, and where wolfen are wolves, obviously, Kankaran are foxes, coils are coyotes, and they are seen to be shifty, which is unfair, but that's the reputation that they have gotten. And this one just happens to be a cultist of Shantico. So this coyote woman is going to basically be trying to fool the group. She won't strike until they get to the essence. Let's see how this plays out. Okay. Let's see, for future showdown in Elven Place. Let's see. Let's try and do it this way. Events. So that is an event. Sandworm mating season. Yes, I stole that from Phantasy Star 4. Thank you, Alice Brangman. That was a capital way of extorting money out of I can't remember his name. This is going to be a skill test. If they can make their way through sandworm mating season, they don't have to fight them necessarily. They just have to avoid the thrashing copulation of sandworms. Alternatively, go around, experience Death Valley, extreme heat, maybe fight some Androth. So, what do you look like when there's no full moon? What? You know, once the Awu curse ends and you go back to being human. For the last time, I am not a goddamn werewolf. I looked like this all the time. God. Yeah, exactly. we would always laugh at the idea of like what happens if a werewolf bites a wolfen, and then they basically become a wolf wearer. In the full moon, they become a man. So let's see, Eandroth. Eandroth are psychic lizard people that can induce heat stroke with a glare. So that could be fun. Eandroth people looking to hired to waylay group. Given money by forward group belonging to Pontifex. May surrender and give loot. Okay. May have Pontifex men among them. This could be a whole thing. I like the idea of this whole thing, and then if group survives mating season, maybe Androth are at the end waiting to attack. And then I want just one more thing for this menu of items. But let's say what are interesting things happening. Group finds itself on the back of an earth shaker. It takes them to center of Balgor wasteland, but asks group to rid it of haunting. Haunting is... Gosh, I wish I still had my book. I need Let's see. I think I should have a copy of it on my hard drive. I need my horror book because I want to throw them against some like dreaded undead creature. Oops. Come on now. By the way, anyone who's watching, obviously you, Looney, but anyone else who's watching, I hope you're enjoying the show. And I hope that you might find yourself wanting to ask questions at the end, because that's kind of a thing we do, is we do a Q&A. So please do not be shy. Think of some questions you want to ask. Do you have questions for me regarding the stream itself, or the games that I plan, or Dungeons and Dragons in general? Are there burning questions you've always wanted to know the answers to? Please let me know. All right. I got the woo curse from the werewolf weirdo loitering around the village. My life sucks now. Why though? Aren't you a wolf all the time? Well, the curse found a way to fuck me over anyways. Now every full moon I turn into a carrot top. Oh Jesus, have you considered euthanasia? Oh my god. Alright, so I'm looking at my creatures that I created. I created an aspect of death. Nah, begrudged soul. That could be something. A bone seeker. Ooh, that's good. A corpse creeper. Corpse reaver? No. Dark folk, dark stalker, doll. Corpse dragon. A corpse dragon could be fun. A skin, bone, blood, soul, phlegmatic. A lesser lich. Yes, I like this idea. Okay. Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm pondering this. You know, I always enjoy your streams. Always have, always will. Thank you, Looney. Okay, yeah. A lesser lich. Okay. Group finds itself on the back of an earth shaker. Carries them. Okay, haunting is a lesser lich. Whoops. A wizard that died and was trapped on the land that it died on. Shoot. Gertrude wants to help. Okay, no, we're good. On the land that it died on. It died on the Earth Shaker turtle. It now haunts that spot until defeated. So yeah, the Earth Shaker turtle is like I'm sure you remember the lion turtle from Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's how big this thing is. It's gonna walk them across the area, much like the turtle in Golden Axe, and it's gonna get them from point A to point B. Excuse me, but because it's so big, it can be haunted, and so it is. It's haunted by this wizard, who's just basically like a ghost wizard, and it's going to like, I'm going to use the stats from my lesser lich, because if I used a real lich, they'd probably all die. But we'll do that. That should be fun. And yeah. Let me look at everything. So it is challenge rating 13. Some decent and interesting things. But Lesser Lich. Okay. Once it takes damage, it spawns 4 revenants. And I just want to make sure. Well, I have my trusty monster manual here. No. You know what I'm going to do? I think this will be more interesting. Four ogre zombies. As a reaction. At half HP to more ogre zombies. At 10%, if it lives, one last ogre zombie. That should be fun. So it's going to get hit, boom, 4 ogre zombies. It's going to be dropped down to half or more, very likely, boom, 2 more ogre zombies. Then, just at the last little bit, it's going to do another ogre zombie. You know what, though? Let's do 3, 2, 1. No. We'll do 4 and 2. We won't do the last one. Because that's just going to be a pain. And plus, if he dies, is it still going to hang around? There's no point to that. And this is Gunther. He's the lesser lich of the party. How is he lesser than other liches, though? Well, I can bring back the dead to unlife, but they don't respect me. I have lost count of times I've been called a soy mate. I'm not going to repeat all of that by zombies. It's hard existence, man. Shed, Mummy, Lord versus Virgin, Lesser, Lich. Anyway. Let's flip this. So 2 ogre zombies as a reaction. Half HP, 4 skeletons. So that should be fun. I like it. All right. Showdown in Ancient Elven Place. So we're going to revise the homework. Homework. Check out Zin Shalast and Rise of the Rune Lords book. So I need to really, once they've done these 3 things, the Coil Woman, the Sandworm mating season, this is probably going to take like 30 minutes maybe. Whether they figure it out or not. It's going to go very quickly. Then the Sandworm thing, that's going to be probably most of a session. And then the Earthshaker thing, I honestly expect to be like half a session. Let's see. Lesser Lich may speak when defeated, maybe can be convinced to go into afterlife. Has grudge for dying in the war. Might go away if convinced the war is over, or shown some kind of proof of friendship. I'd let the group interpret that the way they want. Leaves behind a staff of power. Staff of power? No. No, I want it to leave behind something significant, but not quite like that, because nobody in the group can use it. No, actually, maybe. And you know who? Shoot, what did I just do? Oh no, I did that again. Yeah, Staff of Power. Should go to Durotan, because he doesn't get anything. Durotan hardly ever got anything. This whole campaign, there were all kinds of magic items handed out, and Durotan hardly got a 1. So we'll say that goes to him. Okay, perfect. Cool. That takes care of... Okay, talk to Mildred, Dragon Ride Army, Ronaki, Liali, Middle Mist. Okay. May create a bigger undead army to keep a good guy army at bay. Cool. Attack my undead minions. Attack my undead minions. No, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my real lich. You have to do what I tell you. God damn it, I'm the ghouler. Did you just hear that, lads? He calls himself the ghouler. Cringe and blue-pilled. Oh my god. The lesser lich, of course, talks like Skeletor. Alright. So I think we're good. Okay. So we're done with all of this. Sam, if you're listening or watching, you can... Whoa. Sorry, this part of the music got a little loopy. And not in a good way. There we go. Alright, Friday! So we can delete all of this. I do really want to go back and have a dire Morales fight. But that'll have to happen in a different time in a different game. Group will go to the last node. Okay, Okay, a box sob will take the form of a Giga Gargantuan purple Nurple worm. That's an inside joke that we've had for like the past 3 years. Next game, don't know what. So the group's ready to fight this purple Nurple worm. I'm going to make it really interesting and fun. I think that's really it. There's not much to say here. But I'm really excited because it's going to be another conclusion to another game. So that'll be fun. Saturday, return to Chult. I don't need to fuss about these rosters. Return to Chult. Don't forget, the group is about to fight Chernabog. Okay. Monsters dwell here. Okay. All of this is in my other documents. Let's see. Mist of Fear, Big City, Aberrations. I really need to rethink this campaign because I'm kind of feeling burnt out, and it's weird. Like, I shouldn't be burnt out on like one particular game out of the 8 that I'm running, and I don't know why, but I am. Like, this game is consternating me, and I don't really understand what I need to do to make myself feel good about it. Rethink Sunday game. Okay, Divinity Engine. A machine that can turn off divine power for a short time, like an hour. Can weaken demons and portals. Can remove divinity and make gods into mortals. Will potentially destroy or cause to pass on the spirits of inspired. Group may have to be new inspired. How to build Divinity Engine? Engage in Rebel Alliance on Sulazar. Go on metropolitan missions and what's the word for it? In arcologies of Sulazar and make sure gods are safe on Almodi. Whisper and Ooze may have final showdown. Group may have to become champions of... What's the phrase I'm looking for? Champions of Sinu. That wasn't a phrase, that was just a name I couldn't remember. Sinu may have to be reborn to finish the current cycle. I think I know exactly what I need to do. Sinu could not be born because Sinu is the reincarnation of Whisper. Whisper rejected this reincarnation cycle in favor of staying and meddling with New World, born of his old one. I like this so far. So if anybody's been following along, Uzuz is kind of the evolution of Whisper, a god from the previous iteration that hung on and is causing problems. Sinu is kind of like the projection of a god that is yet to be born, and has tried many times to be born. Basically, Uzuz / Whisper has kind of mucked up the reincarnation cycle of not just the gods, but the world itself. And so Uzuz must die for the world to truly pass into a new age. New age will be marked with a... No, that's getting ahead of ourselves, I think. This is the end game. Uzus will be able to call upon powers and objects of the old world. This will include powerful monsters and items from previous editions of D&D. That should be fun, I think. I'm going to have to mull this over. How to implement this in current game? Give it some thought. Also consider how to stave off burnout. Break one-shots. Let someone else TM? Then no. I'll think about it. Solid idea, though. Alright. So here we go. That was the last bit of planning that I need to do for right now. I mean, come back and do some more for both my Sunday game and for my Tuesday game. But we will go with that. But now it is everybody's favorite time. It is D&D and Q&A. In fact, I think I'm going to tweet about it just in case I can entice anybody to come specifically for the question asking. So let us tweet. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my tweet so that I can retweet it. And in said tweeting, quote tweet, I can merely now doing an AMA, which is what the kids call Q&A, but whatever, in Twitch. Come ask stuff about stuff. And then just for the heck of it, twitch.tv/HowlingWizardKing. Okay. A fledgling god who has tried to be born but has not succeeded yet. Jedadoma, stop! My boner cannot become bigger. Yeah, there's like all these really cool like temporal ideas that I like playing with of like how does the future affect the past in a way that makes sense to the people of the past. Like when somebody time travels from the future, does that future actually happen? Do they invalidate their future just by traveling back in time? And if so, what is their stamp on both timelines, future and past? Are they creating two timelines just by traveling into the past? And what happens when you have a creature, a god, really, that can exist outside of the timeline, but still must answer for like whatever the consequences of timeline meddling? So you have a god who doesn't want to die and a god who desperately wants to be born. They're the same god. They're just part of a separate reincarnation cycle. And so they are at war to try and both be in existence. And there's just the overlap is starting to harm reality. And this music isn't great. Like, I like the kind of softness of it, but every so often it gets a little not soft. Okay. But please, if anybody has any questions, but what if they simply create a new timeline branch and previous timeline branches are immutable? Yeah, there's all kinds of questions. Maybe there's one immutable timeline and a bunch of branches. Maybe that's what the Sephiroth is. Maybe that's what the Yggdrasil is. The Yggdrasil is one tree that is one timeline, and all of the roots and branches are all of the things that lead to and from the current timeline. And they're infinite. But there's also one steady trunk that also goes on forever. And entropy is the Midgar serpent that chews at all of it and will eventually eat all of it. But in such a timeline, in such a time frame that it will not matter to anyone who has ever lived. It's more of an existential dread thing. But so that all kind of is besides the point, of which the point is, ask me questions. This is the time for the question asking. Unless that is your question and you want to know about time shenanigans. Not that I'm a quantum physicist or anything. I just read a lot of articles online and watch a lot of anime about time travel. By a lot, I mean like 2 shows. I played Steins Gate once. Look, I'll always prefer Big Snack and stuff like the Langoliers and shit like that. Yeah, I mean, sorry, the Langoliers was really corny and like it doesn't stand up in terms of visual effects. That's an unfortunate thing. And the fact that Bronson Pinchot is on it is like, it's such a weird, like it has Bronson Pinchot, it has the other guy from Quantum Leap, whose name I'm sorry, I cannot remember. I know he died recently, I'm very sorry. Sam something? I can't remember. Maybe that's the name of his character on Quantum Leap. And then it had like Yardley Smith, I think, was even on there. It's so weird. It's really, really weird. But anyways, no, I love the premise. Like, you know, the Needful Spider is obviously, just going back up, the Needful Spider is very obviously like an homage to Stephen King. And like, you know, I don't know that I like Stephen King as a writer, but I like him as an author. That might not make sense, but in my brain it does. Like, he comes up with great ideas. I don't know that I'm in love with his prose, but the things he comes up with are at least inspired enough that I can draw inspiration from them. And many of the people that I kind of truck with have done the same, and do a lot to kind of integrate ideas from like the Dark Tower series and so on. But I mean, it's fun stuff. It's good stuff. Look, it's like Monster Pac-Man, be scared. No, Stephen King, go home. You're drunk as fuck. I mean, did you hear the stories of when he was directing or in charge of Maximum Overdrive? Dude was on so much cocaine. He was like, his engine was running on only cocaine. It was like, his cocaine tank was on F. Like, it was unreal how much cocaine this man was doing. Unreal. Oh wow. I really am shocked at how he's still alive, honestly. I think the actor you're talking about is Dean Stockwell, unless Scott Bakula also passed away recently. No, Dean Stockwell is who I meant. You are correct about that. Scott Bakula still alive. Still has a very ridiculous last name. That's not his fault. But it is a ridiculous last name. Like, if I was famous and my last name meant Dickbone, I might consider changing it. I'm just saying. Although Scott Dickbone does have kind of a ring to it. Count Bakula. Oh my god. How did I never think of that? Count Bakula. Oh my god, Count Bakula Uh, Walrus Vampire. I have to do something with this now. Count Bacula the Walrus Vampire? Oh my god. Okay, I better get busy with the D&D cues. No, by all means. I don't want to rush anyone. But if any of the people who are in my chat, obviously Looney is not a bot, but if any of the people that are in my chat aren't bots, I would encourage you to ask a question. Or, alternatively, you can just say hello. And that would be awesome. See, your girlfriend can be funny sometimes, yes. Count Bacula is amazing. Count Bacula is right up there with Torquemada's Space Armada. Oh. No, Looney is a doll, not a bot. Very important distinction. But yes, you are a doll. Oh, goodness. While I wait for questions, I think I'm going to add to the Valdor family tree. Or Veldin, I'm sorry. Veldin? Veldin? Valdor. I don't know. Maybe as you're asking your question, Commissar Luke Veldin or Commissar Luke Valdor? No, I think Veldin sounds better. It's a little bit more spacey. Valdor would be like if we were doing Warhammer Fantasy, it would be Luke Valdor because Valdor is very like you would think like Count Valdor, uh, you know, um, Lord Valdor of the Moors, Valdor, the barbarian. But no, Veldin. Veldin is very like spacey. It's very like elevated. Veldin, Commissar Luke Veldin. It's gonna stay Veldin, but we got to add to the Veldin family tree. So, approximator Adeptus Mechanicus. Approximator class. Numbers. Veldin. An Adeptus Mechanicus in charge of creating new machines for human existence in absence of Mars, may be trying to reverse engineer things. May ask group to discover technology, whether lost, human, tech, or even something else. Has vendetta against Commissar Luke for once causing him to lose most of his skin in a farming accident. Has information on traitor guardsman, but will only release it to hinder Belden. Okay, so what is a thing or things from previous editions of D&D that you consider cringe that are gone now, and it being gone made you glad? Okay, that's a can of worms. So let's write that down. What are cringe things from old D&D? Let's just call it that are gone, and I'm glad. First of all, Thaka. So to hit armor class 0. Okay. So you used to have charts that would count downwards for armor class. So you start, let's just say you start with an armor class of 10. You would have to roll on a table that would tell you if you hit. And basically the table counted backwards so that you would have to roll, and if your roll was high enough, then you would compare it to that table and decide if you hit. Because each class had a different table determining if they hit. And like, it was almost like you were subtracting the armor class from the roll. It was very weird. But that was before Thako. Before Thako, there were to hit tables. And then Thako was basically the compromise that said, okay, we're going to make it all the same. You just have to know what your Thako is. You find your Thako number, and you compare that to the armor class of the creature. So you might have had a Thako of 19, and you would have to roll a 19 to hit an armor class of 0. So to hit armor class of 0, roll this. If you AC 0, roll 19 to hit. AC of 10, roll 9 to hit. 10 was pretty standard. Most people had 10 to start with. You put on armor and it made it lower. Some things had an armor class of negative, whatever, 1, let's just say. You could even have an armor class of negative 10. If you wanted to hit that armor class of negative 10, you would either have to roll nat 20, I think would always hit, or you would have to have a Thako of 9, let's say. So if you had a Thako of 9, you'd have to roll a 9 to hit a 0. Count that backwards. So with a negative 10, AC negative 10, Thako. Sorry, I didn't get that. Siri, I wasn't talking to you. Armor class negative 10, Thako of 9, must roll 19 or 20 to hit. And it's just really ridiculously dumb, because what we eventually settled on is AC of 20, roll 20 or above. AC of 10, roll 10 or above. Like, how was it that hard? And like, all of this was born from like very complicated, very silly and convoluted wargame rules. Siri, cállese, jovencita, no sea metiche. Yeah, exactly. Siri. Like, I just don't understand why we needed this like slide rule business. And people swear by it. Like, it's people who were so indoctrinated into Thaco that they were like, no, this isn't hard. You just have to do a little bit of head math. What about all the people who have issues with doing math in their heads? I know a lot of people who do. I tend to be pretty decent at math in my head, but I wouldn't wish that on someone. Just make it straightforward. Have a target number. Roll that target number or higher. There are bonuses. That's all you need to know. Period. Now, 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons did go a little crazy because you could have bonuses of like plus 45 to hit, and you'd have to count and figure every single one of those bonus to make sure that they're all in play and that they were all applicable, because you had circumstantial bonuses. So let's just say you were on higher ground, or maybe it was raining that day, or maybe you had a weapon that had a +2 to hit air elementals, and you're fighting an invisible stalker, and you're like, hey, wait, is that an air elemental or is that just a normal elemental? And just all of the business. So that's 3rd edition. 3rd edition gave us target number and additive bonuses. So instead of counting backwards, you were counting forwards on everything. Great innovation. And I hesitate to call it an innovation because it's just so painstakingly obvious. Make it a target number, make the bonuses additive, roll target number or higher. Boom. Done. There's just nothing better than that. And it just doesn't make any sense. That's so complicated to me. I just became the lady with the floating equations from the meme. Yeah, exactly. How long did it take me to explain to you to hit armor class of 0? How long would it take you to like grok these numbers in your head? You literally need a table in front of you. Ooh, I'm one of those people who suck at math. Me, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're making this the bar that you have to cross, the hurdle that you have to jump over to play D&D, then I don't want to be a part of it, to be honest. Thaco's stupid. And it's not just stupid because it takes a little longer to learn. It's stupid because there's like, A, there's no point to it. Just make it a target number. And B, it does bar people who maybe have a harder time of doing math in their heads from joining. Like, here's another thing. A lot of Thaco existed at a time where you didn't see your character sheet. The only person who had your character sheet was the dungeon master, and he rolled everything. If you ever watched the community episode of Dungeons and Dragons, Abed is dungeon mastering in a very, very old school way where he rolls everything. He rolls because that's how it used to be done. A dungeon master would literally like, okay, you're going to attack the dragon, I will roll your attack, and I will add your bonus, and I will tell you whether or not you succeeded. And that was done primarily because you put you put tremendous amounts of trust in your dungeon master to just believe that the big screen in front of him would guard his notes, and also he was rolling in secret for everything. So whether or not you attacked a dragon and succeeded was up to your dungeon master. And in those days, it was standard practice to just, oh, you didn't like the roll that was done? Oh, yeah, you missed the dragon even though it was a natural 20. Or, fudging it to make the player succeed or fail at your whim instead of what the dice said. Those were dark days. And nobody needs to go back to that. There's something to be said for that style of gameplay if you're with the right people, but oh my goodness, the power trips that led to was mind-boggling. People think I'm exaggerating, but literally have done teehee math is hard thing IRL, and I am that airheaded, says Looney. Yeah. And that's fine, because, you're my airhead, number one. But number two, like, there's no reason that we need to make Dungeons and Dragons like a mathematical exercise. There's enough math that you need to worry about as it is, but we don't need to make it a stupid, train speed and distance equation every time you roll. It's not necessary. It just is not necessary. And I hate the people who pretend that it is. But that's more of a meta thing. The one cringy thing I'm glad that it's gone, that is, it's still meta, but it's a little bit more applicable to the game. Level caps for races. There used to be a rule, damn straight, I am your airhead. Yeah, you are my airhead. Absolutely. Level caps for races. So humans could be any level for any class. It was basically assumed you were going to play a human unless you really wanted to go off of the. I was just about to use a bad turn of phrase. Unless you really wanted to be different and play an elf or dwarf. Initially was its own class. So while you could have human fighter. Whoops, what is wrong with me today? Fighter, human cleric, etc. An elf was an elf was an elf. Um, level 15, 14. Human cleric, level 12. Like these are different examples. Like you could be a human whatever of this level. Elf, level 10. So you if you played an elf or a dwarf, you were just that. That's what you were, and you had like an array of abilities that were inherent to you because whereas humans were this like race of able-minded and kind of generalists who could excel at a great number of things, elves and dwarves and gnomes and so on were like, no, you are an elf, this is what elves do. You are a dwarf, this is what dwarves do. And it was really stodgy and closed-minded, and I think a lot of it was concessions. In the original like game, the idea was like, wait, you want to play as something that's not human? Well, la di da. Here's some throwaway rules for how you can do that. I don't know why anyone would want to play. I'm speaking facetiously as the old style D&D players of that day, and I'm talking like pre-80s D&D. But they were like, la di da. You want to play something that's not human? Here, I guess you can play an elf. I guess you can play a dwarf. And these rules were these kind of throwaway like things that would be like, hey, if you really want to be some special hooty hoo, like here, play this. Stop bothering me. Eventually, they moved on from just making elves and dwarves and so on their own class, and let them be other things. But they gave them level caps, and so a dwarf could be at maximum level 10 cleric or whatever. And you know what? I'm going to actually get my book. Because I mean, I'm giving examples, but I want to tell you like the actual numbers. Yeah, here it is. So let's just take, for instance, a half orc. Oops. A half orc could be cleric 4, could not be a druid, fighter 10, no orc paladins, no orc rangers, no orc magic users. Um, could be a thief because rogues were called thieves in those days. Of max level 8. Apparently, an orc assassin could have as many levels as he wanted to. That seems a little unusual. And could not be a monk. So if you were a half orc, you were restricted to these 4 classes. And assassins are even very difficult to become. because they're a kit class, or I don't know, I don't remember exactly how that works, but basically you had to be lucky enough to roll statistics high enough to qualify to be an assassin. And there are other like in-game weirdnesses about that. But anyways, if you were a half orc, boom, this is all you could be, and up to those levels. And the idea was that you received certain starting benefits for being an orc that would offset this. And there was basically there was a lot of hemming and hawing about, oh, you get these really cool things up front, so we're going to limit you at the back end when you go further up in level. Which is really unfortunate because let's just say you got to level, I don't know, 30. You could, in theory, add all of your levels together to be cleric or fighter 10. And you might not even be lucky enough to qualify to be a thief at that point. So that's it. You're stuck at 14 orc, while human magic user or whatever is 30. You couldn't even be an orc magic user. So human magic user 30, and you're stuck at basically a 14th level orc. And the justification for that is that your orcishness gave you so many benefits that it offsets that difference. And I think that's really dumb. And thankfully, a lot of other people did too. So they did away with that eventually. But for a long time, it was like that. For a long time, there was a heavy, heavy discouragement of playing anything that was not human. And there was, of course, a lot of people who wanted to play monsters. They wanted to play orcs. They wanted to play kobolds. They wanted to play goblins. They wanted to play bugbears and, hobgoblins and all kinds of other interesting things. Me personally, I have on occasion been able to play a Minotaur character, and I love Minotaurs. Minotaurs are like some of the coolest. I read Kaz the Hero. It's an old D&D book about like a really cool Minotaur who is like initially the sidekick of a very prominent character, and then he had his own adventures and was not the sidekick. But after reading the Kaz the Minotaur books, I was like, I want to be a Minotaur hero. I think that's amazing. And the hoops you had to jump through, all the way from the old editions of D&D all the way through third edition, of being like, if you want to play this one thing, you're going to have to sacrifice all kinds of other fun stuff just to be that one thing. And I'm so glad that we're done with that. I'm so glad that we have kind of come away from whatever that, like, stubbornness that was inherent in the writing of those days, that we can just let people be minotaurs. Sorry, my finger slipped. That we can just let people be drow, because people just wanted to be drow so bad, and they were in the same boat. Being a drow was like, oh yeah, you got to sacrifice like 3 levels of your progress just to be a drow, and that was even third edition. But anyways, I'm glad that you have free reign on the kind of things that you want to be, and that there's no ridiculous level cap. And then also like things like if you wanted to play a paladin, it was much harder to do. If you wanted to be a ranger or a bard, it was much harder to do. It's all ridiculous, and I'm glad that it's done with. There's other things too. There's other notions that have like come and gone from the old Dungeons and Dragons. They're starting to move away from the idea of like, oh, orcs are evil savages. I'm glad that that's the case, and people can fight me on that, but I have very strong feelings about that. But there we go. Those are the things. I think I've suitably answered that question with two very big and wordy answers. That being said, anybody in the chat, please prove to me you're not a bot. Say hello. Ask a question. Um, press down on the period key and just send me a period. Just show me you're not a bot. I'm just curious. I just want to know if my viewership is a moderator and 2 bots. If it is, that's fine. If you just happen to be of the mind that you want to send me a period, send me a little dot. Send me a dot. You don't even have to say hello. You just have to put a dot in the chat. But if you feel compelled to ask a question, I will feel compelled to give an answer. Awesome. I'm glad you like the answer. But I think I am going to limit it to one more question here in just a minute. And Looney, you feel free to ask that question if you want, and we will go from there. But if again, I'm just trying to goad my lurker bots into saying if they're not actually lurker bots. Sweetie, I can't send you a oh my god. I heard myself saying it and I thought that it sounded kind of bawdy, but I was going to ignore it. But thank you for calling out the obvious joke, honey. Just for that, in retaliation, I'm going to send you a video. In fact, I need to do it off my phone because I won't be able to do it here with. But yeah, one more cue coming up. Let's see. I'm going to send you a video now in retaliation for that joke. Sorry, I am. Now I have two things to send you because I got a really cool thing from my roommate Robert that I'm going to send you, Mooney. Oh, this whole thread is amazing, by the way. Sorry, I just sent you this really amazing thing. Anyways, sorry. So I sent you two things, but the first thing is the retaliation. Second thing is the funny thing. Anyhow, all right. What's a thing you created, be it a monster or scenario, or a character that was so scary when the session ended you went, I might have gone a bit too far in several places? Well, okay. So I got to play Silent Hill, not when it came out necessarily, but one of my really good friends, actually from Mexico, his name is Victor, and I need to read that later. But my friend Victor lent me his copy of Silent Hill, and this was like 99, 2000. I can't, probably 99. Here, in fact, I'm going to look it up because I'm going to feel real dumb if I'm like, I played it in 99 and it didn't come out until 2000. I don't know. Silent Hill PlayStation. When did Silent Hill 1 come out? I don't want to be one of those people. No, it must have been 2000 because it was released in 99. Um, anyways, that's really besides the point. So anyhow, I played Silent Hill. It like shook me to my core. Just knowing that there was a piece of media that was like that powerful and that creepy, and that you could really be. Let me write this down so that I'm addressing the question properly. What's a thing I made that was so scary that when the session was over, I might have gone a bit too far. Um, so I played Silent Hill. It was amazing. Um, oh wow, it came out in America before it did in Japan. That's insane. Anyhow, I played it. It rocked my world, and it really taught me many valuable lessons about how to be spooky, not how to be scary, not how to frighten people, but how to unnerve people, and just how to describe things that are just different enough. The very David Lynch style of like, I don't need to scare you, I don't need to get your adrenaline pumping, I just need you to understand that what you are experiencing is wrong. I need to give you cues that what is happening in this moment should make you want to run away. Not because something is like a slathering monster, but because there's something about what you are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, so on and so forth, that make you question everything you've come to know up until this point, or just makes your teeth tingle. Um, and if you can accomplish that, you can make people really start to question their way of thinking, really start to question like, what does it mean to be a human being? What does it mean to be unnerved? And I think those are positive. Holy, oh God! I mean, you're opening the floodgates, pun intended. But man, I have so many kids in the hall videos to send you. Anyways, so I played Silent Hill. I ran a spooky game. Uh, I was lucky enough to. I ran a spooky game in my house with where my parents live. Uh, it was dark. We played by candlelight. And I described all of these very spooky things. I was still, a very young dungeon master. I might have been all of 18 at that point. But I was able to describe some very like spooky things, like things that should not have been. Bodies coming alive, moving, and then becoming corpses again. Um, and at one point, there was like this noise coming from a container, and the container was like big enough it could have held a human or something, but it was like this like rattling uh that was happening, and then they were hearing like a cry from outside, not like a scream, but like this kind of like strangled cry. And the it was like the cry and the rattling were kind of in a competition for making more noise. But then as this phenomenon was kind of dying down, it was like dying down in this very deliberate way. And as I was describing this kind of like roll down of noise, as it was like dying in this, like in the way that a thing dies, in a way that the sun diminishes at the end of every day, in a way that um, a living thing just goes from being vibrant to being dead, but in a very short amount of time. As I was describing this moment of this like cacophony coming to prominence and then slowly fading out, the candle was almost beat for beat diminishing at the same exact time. I could not have planned it if I tried, but the candle was going out right as I was describing all of the cacophony dying down, and that was like my favorite moment because everybody like noticed that. Everybody saw that, and it was almost like they thought I was commanding the candle to go out as I was describing it, and everyone was spooked as fuck. But that was my favorite moment. I'm gonna say one thing here. I have never been more glad to be. No, absolutely. I mean, yes, there's topic for another time, maybe. But you are correct. But now, just because of that, I'm going to show you another Kids in the Hall. I love Kids in the Hall. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. But this one's going to be less about like weirdness and grossness and more about like just the kind of humor that I love. Come on now. Also, that image you sent me, it totally. Yes. If you look at that thread, by the way, and you go a little bit down, they have like a someone put audio to it, and that was amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna share this one with you, and this is just more to be funny. This is not a retaliation, Kids in the Hall. Although the longer you'll know me, the longer you'll realize that I'm going to probably send retaliation Kids in the Hall videos. But you'll always laugh. Anyways, played by candlelight described a, let's call it, haunting event as diminishing, and candle died as I described the haunt dying. It was perfect, and my players were freaked out. But yeah, that's what happened. That game, that was amazing that I was able to do that. And ever since then, really, ever since Silent Hill, but still, that game was a tremendous inspiration to me of how I could run a game that was all about being spooky. And to that end, one of my favorite things to do is to run Dread, a game where you play by drawing Jenga tiles. If the Jenga tower falls, last person who touches it has their character die in the game. Now, on the surface of it, that seems very overly simplistic. But Dread is a fantastic game for that. It's so good. Like, the premise is you play kind of sort of a horror movie. You can do suspense, too. You can do all kinds of different things. But my favorite... No worries, Looney. But my favorite thing to do is to run a horror game with Dread, as the name implies, because there's an insurmountable amount of tension that you can build up with this leaning Jenga tower, because everybody knows that something's going to happen. But the fun of it is letting everybody be whatever trope they're going to be as a horror genre. And then me, when I've run it, or people who run Dread, it's just so fun to be able to construe a situation and just have 1000% free reign to describe the spookiest, creepiest shit you can, and just let that sit with people and let them understand that to continue, it's like, and this is just something that like has stuck with me forever. To continue, they have to do things they don't want. They might have to go into a room that has a monster in it. They might have to go swim in the water that has like a big, alligator in it or something. They might have to go out in an airlock to try and fix the spaceship, knowing that they could very well die, and that maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to sacrifice their lives to save everyone else. But that might be the best case scenario. And sometimes it's fun when like half the group survives. Sometimes it's fun when only one person does. I don't think I've ever seen it where everyone lost, but it's so much fun. We definitely need to play that game, especially once we move in together. Oh my god, yes. I've wanted to play Dread for a very long time, and I mean, as you imagine, COVID put the kibosh on it. But I used to run a lot of games of Dread. They're so much fun. Obviously, they're meant to be like one-time kind of experiences, but man, I love playing Dread. But the reason that I was going to just bring up one more thing, and I know I'm seriously over time, but I'm just going to go over this last thing. Silent Hill 2, one of the most formative moments of my like video game life, where buying Silent Hill 2 after work on a Friday, taking it home to my then roommates, and sitting down at like 6:30 or so and playing it completely through once, just in one sitting. I bought it, took it home, played it, beat it. I didn't like obviously get all of the endings or anything, but it was just the idea that I experienced this game like purely. I sat down, and I've never done that with a video game up until then, and I haven't done it with a video game since. Never have I, other than that one time, bought, played, and beat a game in that like close amount of time. But I played Silent Hill 2, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. But I do remember, I don't want to, I guess, spoil too much, but there's a moment where you are in a creepy bathroom. You know it's bad news. It looks gross and spooky. So you go up to the stalls. You see that the first two are open, and the third one is there with a door. And what you were expecting is, I'm going to open this door, and there's going to be something really gnarly in there, like a dead body or a monster, or who knows. So knock once, nothing. Knock twice, still nothing. Like the amount of courage that I had to like well up inside of me to even knock the first time. So I was sitting there with one of my roommates, and we were watching, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, you got to do it. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, you got to do it. I'm like, okay. So knock, knock, knock. Nothing. I'm waiting, seeing if something's going to happen. Okay, nothing. Knock, knock, knock. Still nothing. Okay, I'm getting a little bit bolder. Knock 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Nothing. Still nothing. I'm like, okay. There was nothing to that then, I guess. And then I walk out thinking that's it. I guess that was all there was to that. Boo! This like creepy noise. And it wasn't even like a scream or a screech or like anything like that. It could have been a woman crying. It could have been like something way more. It could have been like a loud bang, anything. But they chose to just make it like a weird, strangled, like garbled voice. And Jesus God, did I like that freaked me out almost more than anything I've ever experienced. And it was great. And it was amazing, and I couldn't believe that they got me like that, but they did. Good God. Only Eternal Darkness got me as good, if not better, but that's another conversation for another time. You're going to have to, from the chat, you're going to have to hug me a lot if things are getting too scary, though I require my big, strong man to protect me from the scary things. I mean, yes, absolutely, I will hold you, but how will that work if I'm the one saying the scary things? I think that might be a little bit difficult, but we'll try it. I'm game if you are. But okay, I think I'm going to stop there because we're actually way over time. And we're kind of cutting into time for another really cool thing that I do on Mondays. So I hope that those of you who are watching had a lot of fun. Thank you for hanging out. Hopefully people will potentially come by and watch this after the fact. And, we talked about a lot of really interesting things today. Some on topic, some off. That's okay. I think that's part of the planning that I do here. It has a lot to do with just kind of talking and getting ideas that are in my brain out, and even if they are like not nominally part of the planning phase, that they're still helpful. Thank you for another amazing stream, dear. Love you. Yes, of course, Looney, I love you lots. Thank you, and happy Valentine's Day. I hope you liked what I sent you earlier, and I'm going to keep sending you videos and things. But yes. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop now, and I thank all of you once again for being a part of the stream, whether it is out in the future or in the present time and day, um, as per Serial Experiments Lane. And yes, here we go. We're about to be done with the stream, and just remember that I plan and play games for you. Y te amo mucho también.